Hey everyone, Astrokit here. Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, welcome. Today we're talking about your Venus placement and how this manifests to who you attract romantically and who your future spouse is. We're getting into the details of the relationship dynamics you have, the people that you attract, and ultimately what your future spouse might be like based on the house in your chart that you have your Venus in. Now, Venus is a familiar planet, as we know, representing love, romance, harmony, and partnership. Now, it represents partnerships of all kinds, but especially romantic partnerships is the focus for this video. So if you don't know your Venus placement yet, go ahead and calculate it down below. I have the link. Just check to see the house that it's in, and this can be used for your chart that you prefer to look at. So if your tropical chart is usually what you look at, then you can watch this video for that Venus placement, and if you have sidereal as your main chart, etc., you can look for that placement. So it just can go to any system, any chart you look at, this can apply to, and go to the timestamp of your Venus placement to see the information. Venus in the first house, people, what you see happening here for you in your love life is that you attract people that are similar to you, people that have similar life perspectives, a similar lifestyle. This is like the it couple placement where the person you attract and your future spouse especially is someone that mirrors you a lot. And as a Venus in the first house native person yourself, you're somebody who prioritizes beauty, partnerships, and relationships. Since Venus is so prominent in your chart, having a partnership, being in a duo with someone can be important to you, something that you strive to have, and you can find yourself often in relationships, especially relationships that mirror your values, mirror your life path, that honestly, a relationship that makes you look good. And that's why I brought up the it couple thing, where with it couples, they usually, both the male and female or whoever the partners are, they usually look good together, and that could be a priority for you. Something you see in your marriage and with your future spouse is looking good with your person. Quite likely, Venus in the first house, you're attractive, you prioritize your physical beauty, you look good, you're charming, you're magnetizing, and then your person is also good looking, or you prefer to have a partner that's good looking, and together you guys just like look good together. I've seen that a lot with this placement. And it also brings into your life people who are independent, people who are leadership oriented. Now, the mirror effect comes up again because you're someone who prioritizes your pleasures, leisure, your beauty, and the person you attract can also be that same way and be independent in their own right, and then you feel independent in your own right, and together you guys coexist in this independent manner, but in a Venetian way that is collaborative. Your future spouse can be someone who's straightforward, somebody who's focused on their goals, their ambitions, their desires, their pleasures, and you can also be that same way. And so when you come together with your person, you both have that inclination towards life for wanting the best things, wanting pleasurable things, and you prefer a person who admires you, someone who adores you. You love compliments, you love hearing words of affection and having your partner be romantic. You're likely to attract a person who does provide you with that admiration, adoration, sometimes even worship, and just energy of affection towards you that is very concentrated and harmonious. And if you guys are curious to know about how you'll meet your future spouse, if you haven't met them yet, there's a video about that on my channel. I'll link it down below. It's about your 7th house ruler placement, so that'll be there if you guys are curious. Now, if your Venus is in the 2nd house, we see this materialistic theme forming, and what matters to you in life is your material assets. You really value luxury items, you value your financial stability, financial security, and you find pleasure in having a stable lifestyle, financially stable lifestyle, and having material wealth. That is like your natural disposition. Venus in the 2nd, you like money, okay? You like material goods, you like the nice things in life, and having that material security. And so with your partnership, this manifests as attracting someone who can bring that into your life. You prefer to have someone that has financial stability themselves, who has financial security, that can add to your wealth, add to your assets, and make you feel financially secure. Now, this often manifests as attracting or having a future spouse that is wealthy, that has money. And oftentimes we see too that once you get married, you make more money, you get financial gains through marriage. And it's not just superficial financial gains or materialistic, but Often you see that you get financial gains that are like investments or bring you financial stability in a concrete sense. So for example, after you get married, you get your name on a deed, you get your name on property, you get property through your spouse, or for some reason or another, you get property after marriage. Your name is put onto some sort of life insurance, for example. And your spouse can literally be someone with an important last name, and you get a title through marriage, a important title, a title that brings you stability and security after you get married to your person. And I'm thinking of a good example of this is like Meghan Markle. I believe she has Venus in the second. And after she got married, this is a dramatic example, but after she got married, she has a title. Her last name is like solidified in history. So it's kind of like that trajectory that we can see here sometimes, where your material wealth is increased after marriage and you get financial stability. You get status in the world, you get an important last name or something like that through marriage or through partnership. And this is something that's important to you, something you value, is having something to hold on to because of a partnership. Not just having a partnership that's like, I love them, he's cute, but like, okay, what can I hold? What can I put in my bank account? What can I give to my children? What's the long-lasting longevity of the material wealth I can gain from this? You're someone to have strict values or a value list, a value system when it comes to relationships, having a list of things you value in a partner, one of those things being material wealth, probably. Other things can be more relevant to like the sign that your Venus is in. You have your own specific values when it comes to relationships and you're sticking to them, you're not budging. We get kind of like that Taurus energy coming up here since you have Venus in the second house, Taurus, and you have that stable, methodical approach to love where you have your standards, you have your boundaries, and you're not really changing that just for one person or just for a certain amount of people, but you're more strict with it and you're following your standards and your value system. And so the person you attract can really adhere to your value system, adhere to your values, and that can be something you require out of a person, is that they do align with your values, they align with your material needs, they help support that somehow, and they're someone that is supportive and stable. It's likely that your person is wealthy, stable, reliable, somebody who also cares about their material wealth, cares about their status in the world, cares about their material position and material security, and that is the person you could attract as your future spouse. Now, if you're curious to know about how you'll meet your future spouse, there's a video on my channel about that, about your 7th house ruler placement, and that is linked down below. With Venus in the 3rd house, this means that communication is a huge theme in your relationships, and the people that you attract can be people that are Gemini-like in nature, people that are communicative. You could literally attract Geminis for some people, depending on your Venus sign. But generally speaking, you attract people who have many skills, who are intelligent, who have their hands in many different buckets. They're someone who is active in the world, they have a lot of projects, someone who's skillful and witty. You value a sense of communication with your partner, the kind of relationship where you guys have banter, where you joke with each other, where you're really chatty, you exchange ideas, and due to this, you can often see manifesting a very friendly relationship with your spouse. Friends to lovers is common here. Sending messages and being active verbally before you get romantic is also a manifestation. And the theme of competition comes up with the 3rd house, and with your spouse, with people that you attract romantically, you're gonna kind of have that competitive relationship, that almost like teammate relationship, sibling relationship, where you bicker and argue, but it's playful and flirty. And Venus in the 3rd is interesting since 3rd house is about communication and communicating with people and collaboration. So you have that neutrality sometimes when it comes to relationships, where you're able to see people as like, okay, this is my friend, and then they're your lover later, or this is my friend and I'm not crossing that boundary. So I can imagine for some people, you could put a lot of people in the friend zone, or a lot of times your friends could have crushes on you, your classmates or peers just have crushes on you, and it might not be requited by you, or you might not feel the same way. But friends to lovers, classmates to lovers, peers to lovers is a really common theme here. Also common too in your relationships is long distance relationships, any relationship where you have to like send more messages than you are in person in person, in contact with that person, and sending love letters to each other, sending cute little Snapchats, sending love notes, and even letters. I can imagine you're someone who's probably received love letters, love messages, and that could be an important theme in your relationships, and something you value is communication and love letters and receiving love through verbal communication and nonverbal communication. And ultimately, your future spouse is someone who is dynamic in nature. You're someone who can value that in someone else. You value someone who's adaptable, who's changeable, who is your friend, who's collaborative, and someone you can have fun with, someone you can explore with, learn new skills. That's also a theme in your relationships, is learning something from your spouse. They learn something from you. Maybe they learn a different language from you. You learn from them. And there's this whole theme of exchange happening for you in your romantic dynamics. And it's not just purely romantic, but also a dynamic where you learn something, a dynamic where you experience friendship and playful energy too. Now, if you're curious to know how you'll meet your future spouse, there's a video about that on my channel. So if you haven't met them yet, you guys can check that video out. It is about your 7th house ruler placement. With Venus placed in your 4th house, this means that the relationships you attract are ones that bring you comfort and security. This is something that you value in relationships, and your future spouse and your partner is someone that can make you feel comfortable, someone that makes you feel at home, someone that is protective of you. You could prefer someone that you feel familiar with. It's a common manifestation that your future spouse is someone that makes you feel at home. This person could be metaphorically a home place for you, and they could even feel like someone that is motherly to you, someone that nurtures you, someone that supports you, and you value that energy in a spouse and value that energy when it comes to romantic interactions. It's common that you could have a future spouse that is someone from your past, someone from your childhood, someone that just even reminds you of your past, reminds you of a family member, reminds you of an ancestor, reminds you of a mother. And this could happen like on a subconscious level, where you just attract someone that ends up reminding you of someone you already know, someone that's familiar to you, someone that already makes you feel comfortable. And that's one of your requirements when you're dating, when you're attracting people. It's like they have to bring you some sort of security, psychologically, emotionally, literally. That does matter to you. What might also matter to you is a sense of legacy, a sense of home and family. With the 4th house, we're dealing with this strong theme of something stable, something secure, a strong family unit, and that is something you value in your spouse. Something you could attract in people is people that also want to create a stable family unit with you, create something secure, create a legacy to build with you. And something stable is something you prioritize with your partnerships and with your spouse. You can expect your spouse to be someone who is motherly, like we kind of touched on, someone who's protective, someone who cares about their resources, their security, and you're someone who also values that. And that's kind of like the commonality. You guys come together and share. You guys come together and create a stable base together, create something that brings you both security, and your person can prioritize that in their life naturally, is their own security, their own wealth, their own stability in life. And your person could also be a homebody, someone who likes to be at home a lot. They embody like that Cancer energy perhaps. You yourself as a Venus 4th house native can prioritize being in a relationship that is under wraps, that is quiet, that's not too known by the world, and kind of protecting your own relationship there. Not necessarily in a secretive way or a hidden way or taboo way, but a way that's just like, maybe you don't want to post your spouse. Maybe you don't feel comfortable being public with your relationship and having everyone in your business with your person, and you value privacy, and your person can also value that, and you guys kind of create a life together that is stable, secure, like we talked about, but also private too. If you want to know how you will meet your future spouse, there's a video about that on my channel, link down below, about your 7th house ruler placement. If Venus is in the 5th house of your chart, this means that your relationships, your romantic partnerships are ones that are playful. When it comes to attracting a partner, when it comes to attracting a future spouse for you, you value a sense of romance, playfulness, a relationship where you guys do things that are pleasurable, leisurely activities, fun activities, even doing activities that are childish in nature, going to the fair, going to amusement parks, doing fun things like that that aren't super serious necessarily, but fun, playful, and bring out your inner child. This is the placement where you want love to be romantic. You want it to be like a movie, to be theatrical and dramatic. And oftentimes we can see maybe in your relationships is having romances that are theatrical, dramatic, wanting to have a dynamic that is movie-like, that kind of is exciting and fun and not just boring or serious, but something that excites you and brings you pleasure. Now, you as a Venus 5th house native value a sense of courtship. You want your partner to court you. There needs to be a courting phase where they send love messages, they send flowers, they do those romantic gestures towards you to earn your love, earn your adoration, and earn your attention. Courtship is something that matters to you and something that is vital in your relationship. 5th house also represents games. So when it comes to love and how you approach relationships, you can kind of see it as a game, see it as something playful, see it as something, or see a dynamic where it's like this person has to win your heart. They have to compete for you. You have to engage in some sort of mental game or even kind of just romantic games in general in your love life before a relationship happens. Before it gets serious, there is this like game playing phase you could play or prefer to enjoy, and your person can be like that as well. You enjoy this back and forth that happens in romance, the back and forth flirting, back and forth passionate energy, and you just enjoy the kind of playful element of it before it gets too serious. The person that you attract can be someone who is more childish, someone who's playful, charismatic, sort of like the Knight of Cups in tarot, like that romantic person who has those smooth talking lines to give you, those romantic gestures. This kind of archetypal romantic character can come into your life as your future spouse or people that you attract. There's like a word I'm thinking of, like kind of like Playboy or Casanova, something like that. And you yourself can kind of be on that same frequency of being like a player or playful. And you attract these people that are passionate, romantic, and can be sometimes a little bit childish. And sometimes what can manifest too is someone who is popular, who's well known, who's very social too. And you meet your spouse, or you're likely to meet romantic options through social gatherings, through engaging in hobbies, in your favorite hobbies, in leisurely activities. And once you get with your spouse, the person that you're with, your partner, you guys have a common hobby together. You do something fun together, you have a common interest, and you bond because of that. And have fun because of this common interest you have fun because you both like music, for example, you both play an instrument, or you both have a certain talent that's in common, and you're able to express that through your relationship and develop your skills, and especially your creative talents through your partnership. Speaking of creativity, your person is someone who is creative, someone who is talented. They could be in the music industry, they could be an artist, somebody who's already into the creative aspects of life, and you could be that way yourself, and then you guys bond with your creative energy together. Now, if you're curious to know how you'll meet your future spouse, there's a video about that on my channel about your 7th house ruler placement. So I'll link that down below if you guys are curious. With Venus in the 6th house, you attract romantic partnerships that are purposeful, that are useful. You value a person or partnership that can help your life in some way, help your daily routine. Something that just transcends basic romance or fun or flirting, but something that actually makes sense in your life. And from your perspective as a Venus 6th house native, you're someone who might have a strict standard list. We can use the word picky here, where you're picky about who you want to attract, who you want in your life. And we get this theme of like purity with the 6th house, and having a 6th house Venus, you're concerned with the best spouse for you, or the best options, having someone that actually meets your list, your standards. And you can be very discriminatory when it comes to love, feeling like not everyone deserves you, feeling picky about who you want, and being very discerning overall. So the person you attract is someone that is of service to you, someone that wants to help you. Maybe their love language is acts of service. That could be your love language as well, and you guys kind of align with those same values, and you're able to have a relationship that helps your work or professional life. This is the workplace romance placement, attracting love through your profession. Your coworker can become your future spouse, sometimes even your employee or boss. But if it doesn't happen literally like that, then with your person, it can just feel like a work relationship. It can feel like your spouse is your coworker because they help you with certain tasks. You guys have the same daily routine. You have goals that are common and you guys accomplish them together and have this sense of work ethic in your partnerships, especially with your future spouse. And your person can literally be someone who is hardworking, someone who's service oriented, somebody who is logical, somebody that is health conscious, and these are traits that you value in a spouse, and you end up attracting someone that is like that due to this being on your values list. The theme of competition comes up too, where you could feel competitive with your spouse. You could feel like you guys are competitive with some specific thing, like work, for example. And competition, obstacles is a sixth house theme. So sometimes you have to face obstacles together. You have to overcome some sort of obstacle to get to union with your spouse, or you're just kind of competitive with them in general, either subconsciously or literally. And the good thing too, though, is that the sixth house is a house that gets better with time, and planets placed there get better with time. So you kind of have the love story relationship that does get better over time. And sometimes it could happen, like, honestly, this is like the enemies to lovers placement, where you could have a contentious relationship at first with your spouse, or maybe it's not love at first sight, but eventually you grow into that dynamic, you grow into love, you get a strong, stable relationship over time. If you're curious to know how you'll meet your future spouse, if you haven't met them yet, there is a video on my channel about that, about your seventh house ruler placement. So I'll link it down below if you guys are curious. If Venus is in the seventh house of your chart, this means that the relationships that you attract are ones that are very flirty. Now with this placement, we see an interesting thing manifest, since seventh house is naturally a very social house. It's the house connected to Libra. So with your Venus here, you have a lot of options, romantic options. Generally attract a lot of romantic attention, magnetic in the sense of magnetizing flirtatious relationships, magnetizing romantic energy towards yourself. And naturally you could value a sense of romance, value a sense of lighthearted playfulness, flirting, and you're someone to value a romantic relationship that is balanced, a dynamic where it's like a true partnership, even sometimes a dynamic that can feel like a business relationship. Your person brings something to the table, you bring what you bring to the table, and there's a balance there. And sometimes too, we can see that you have a relationship, especially like the beginning stages, where it's kind of like a back and forth, like a negotiation. And through your relationships, you might negotiate what you want, negotiate what you require, have certain standards there, set boundaries there, and have a list of things. Before you can commit to someone, you have to negotiate first. The person you attract is someone that mirrors you, that mirrors your values, what you want in a person, what you find to be ideal. This person mirrors that. Literally mirror you, mirror your identity. This could be someone who is very opposite to you, but also at the same time has key similarities. And you appreciate someone that is different from you, and someone that kind of makes up for your own weaknesses. Whatever you don't have naturally, your person will have. And whatever they don't have naturally, you have. So it's like that perfect balanced relationship, and that's something that can manifest for you here with your spouse. Given this businessy theme of the seventh house, your person, your spouse, is someone who is a business person. They make contracts for a living, they negotiate. There's someone who is likely to be very social, very well connected, have many friends, be well known. And this can also be on your same frequency as a Venus seventh house native. You could have a certain connection with the public, appreciate public admiration, be kind of popular naturally, and your person also mirrors that same life trajectory. For some people, you even do business with your spouse. You have a business with them, business project, contracts, and there can be a business connection you guys have together in general. And one of the ultimate contracts in business is marriage, and that is something you might value ultimately. Something you do want in life is marriage, a marriage contract, having that union with someone legally. And if you're curious to know about how you'll meet your future spouse based on your seventh house ruler placement, I have that video on my channel, and I'll link it down below for you guys if you're curious. With Venus in the 8th house, this means that the romantic relationships that you attract create transformation in your life. And what we can see manifest for you as a Venus 8th house native is that your relationships are passionate, intense, they are boundary crossing, which can mean that you prefer a relationship that is more than superficial, something that bonds you and someone else together, even on a soul level, on a psychological level. Something deeper beyond the mundane world, beyond mundane attributes that we usually think of when we think of love relationships. You want that deep, intense bond with someone. And so it does have to be said about this placement that it can create obsessive lovers, people that are obsessed with you and sometimes even stalk you and make you feel uncomfortable in that sort of way. It's likely that you experience people that are obsessive over you, possessive over you, and desire you in an intense manner. And also in a very sexual manner as well. This placement can attract a lot of sexual attention, sometimes unwanted sexual attention, and naturally you're somebody who is very magnetic. Now, when I say magnetic, it's not just physical, it's not just your outer appearance, but there's something about you that really magnetizes people, that pulls them in. You're naturally seductive, naturally pulling on people's energies, evoking sexual energy out of people, even unconsciously, and attracting that towards you with this strong sense of magnetism with this placement. And needless to say, you magnetize romantic options, sometimes in an unwanted manner, but that attraction level is definitely there, and sometimes in a very obsessive way, possessive way. And it could even be on your part where you feel obsessive towards your partners, towards your spouse, possessive over them, feeling like you want that strong tie with them just between you two, and you can get really obsessive over that, really focused on that union. Now, when you get with your future spouse, it's a union that could be based on material interests, material goods. Like you marry someone who is materially wealthy, and then after marriage, you get wealthier. You marry someone that wants to provide for you financially, give you financial gifts. Now, through marriage, you gain more financial wealth, financial assets. Financial gain is a theme in your romantic partnerships, where you could just attract people who want to always pay for you, giving you money, giving you gifts, taking you places on their dime. And that is what you see with this. Oftentimes, Venus in the 8th house in general is just gaining money through other people, gaining money through marriage, having a wealthier spouse, or just like a spouse who wants to financially support you. Having common interest and shared resources with your person is very likely. For example, you could get married and then share a house together, or share property, or have like a business together, something like that, where you have joint resources. You end up gaining financially, materially through these joint resources, joint assets you have with your spouse. In general, your spouse could mirror some of the traits we were talking about earlier, somebody who is possessive, someone who's intense, who's passionate, someone who is keen about the occult parts of life, the occult mysteries of life, and they are interested in those things. And you might also be interested in the occult, or having a relationship with your person that is spiritual, that's like a soulmate bond that is spiritually significant, that could help you spiritually transform, not just literally or financially, but spiritual transformation is seen with you and your spouse. And this could be a partnership that is taboo for some reason, like there's an age gap, there's a cultural difference. There's this theme with the 8th house of transcending some sort of limit, transcending boundaries. So there is a boundary that is like preset before you get with your person, some sort of societal boundary or social boundary. And then once you are with your spouse, you want to transcend that boundary, have a relationship that might be a little bit taboo, that might be a little bit out of the norm, especially by societal standards. And what's also possible here is meeting your spouse when they already have a partner. And you could already have a partner and meet your spouse, and that's why it is secretive, or that's why it is taboo at first. It's like you're already in something, and then you meet your spouse and then get with them later on. But at first it has to be secret due to the taboo nature of already being in a relationship. Through being with your spouse, some part of your life dramatically transforms, usually your financial life, your material security transforms, usually in a way that benefits you or you gain there. And you could also transform spiritually in a subconscious way or a psychological way as well. And if you're curious to know about how you'll meet your person, your future spouse, there's a video about that on my channel about your 7th house ruler placement. So I'll link that down below if you guys are curious. With Venus in the 9th house, this means that with your future spouse, the commonality you guys have is your philosophical beliefs. You have a common belief you guys both have. It can be spiritual or religious. Generally speaking, there is a spiritual connection you guys can have and a common faith that you guys share. And you yourself, as a Venus 9th house native, you value a sense of spiritual connection. You value someone with a sense of faith, a spiritual practice that they follow, having a sense of morals and ethics. Somebody righteous, somebody ethical can be someone that suits you and what you prefer to have in a romantic dynamic, and thus the people you attract are like that. What we also see manifesting here is going beyond your normal horizons, the kind of love, the kind of relationship that brings you out of your comfort zone. It brings you to new experiences. And this literally often means travel, going to different countries together, traveling together, or just generally speaking, having this dynamic in your romantic partnership where it expands your horizons metaphorically, philosophically, mentally, expands your consciousness, and expands your knowledge base overall. Your person is one that could feel like an advisor to you, someone who teaches you things. A teacher, father-like figure can be the vibes of your future spouse. There's someone who gives you advice, they mentor you, they protect you, and especially protect you in like a spiritual sense, a metaphorical sense. They have that guide, protector, advisor energy. You appreciate someone who brings knowledge to your life, brings wisdom, and through your relationship, not only do you learn from your person, but they also learn from you. So there's this exchange of information, exchange of knowledge, exchange of spiritual beliefs and values between you and your spouse. This is the relationship that is devotional, where you guys devote your energy to each other. You appreciate someone who is devotional to you. And sometimes that even leaks into the theme of worship, having a worship dynamic in your partnership where you worship your person, they worship you. This divine energy does incorporate into your relationship, and divinity is something we can see as a theme in your dynamic with your future spouse. There's also an international theme here, as you can probably guess and probably experienced, is liking someone from a different culture, having a spouse from a different culture, meeting your spouse in foreign lands. There's some like international element here. Maybe your spouse speaks another language and they teach it to you, or you teach them your language and you guys connect through that. In general, you guys are connecting through your like wisdom, through your knowledge, having that mental connection and philosophical connection that's not just romantic or just sexual, but really connecting of the minds together. This is the college relationship, so you guys can meet through college, or you have a spouse that is well educated, someone who's well traveled, someone who has like master's degrees or something like that, and you yourself could have that. So you have your own knowledge regalia or like degrees and stuff, and your person also has that. Maybe you value education, someone who's educated, you value that sense of higher knowledge with you and your spouse. If you're curious to know how you'll meet your future spouse if you haven't met them yet, there's a video on my channel about your 7th house ruler placement and how that manifests when meeting your spouse. So if you're curious, I'll leave that video down below. Venus in the 10th house manifests as attracting partners that bring you some sort of longevity and especially status. Now, with this placement as a Venus 10th house native yourself, you can appreciate or value having status in life, having a strong position, having authority positions, and you want your spouse to bring you that as well. And the people that you attract could already have status, they could be famous, be in authority positions, and through them you gain more status in life. You gain popularity, you gain prominence. And through your spouse, it's likely you gain some sort of status position, and also you gain some sort of legacy. That is something you value or prioritize in your partnerships, your romantic dynamic. Having a relationship that brings you a legacy that contributes to a favorable legacy for your long-term goals, your long-term desires. There is a focused energy where you're considering your long-term plan, your long-term impact on the world when it comes to who you partner with. And that person better bring something to the table that can help you with that, that can bring you status, bring you popularity, help you reach your long-term goals. It's a dynamic that has to be purposeful and mean something for the long term. Romantically, you could attract people that boost your reputation, that make you look good in public and help your public image. This is something you might also value when it comes to choosing a partner is, can this person look good with you in public? Do they help your image? Do they boost your reputation at all? And you could literally seek out people strategically that actually do help you with that. And we see often with this placement is public relationships, high profile relationships, being in relationships that everyone knows about. This isn't like the secret, hidden, taboo relationship placement. of course, considering your whole chart. But with Venus in the 10th, it's like everybody knows you're with such and such. Such and such is with you. Your person could be popular, famous, be in an authority position already. And through their status that exists, you gain more status and gain more recognition. And the public knows about you too and knows the relationship you're in. And you're someone who could prefer to have more of a public relationship. Having your person by your side publicly, you want someone that looks good with you in public, and could manifest as like literally wanting like a good looking spouse. I mean, most people want a good looking person, but you literally want someone that looks good physically to the public and makes you look good in terms of their status and their accolades as well. And generally speaking, that often does end up manifesting for you when you get married. You have a relationship or marriage where it does boost your prominence in life, it boosts your popularity for some reason, it helps your legacy, it helps your long-term goals. And so the person you're with, they can be in a position to help you. It's likely that they're older than you, have authority over you, and they could feel like a father figure, feel like a guide. And due to this established energy or established position they're in, they're able to bring you up with them, and you gain more status and prominence through marriage. And your person can be someone who's very goal-oriented, ambitious, someone who already focuses on their own status, on their own reputation. They value that, and then you also value that. You guys get together, that's your common interest and common value that you share. And they're also someone that could be older than you. I think we talked about that. Someone that could be in a position to influence others, be a leader, be a influential person. They could be famous, or just be in a position where they're a manager, leader, or guide to other people. Ultimately, you do attract partners and attract a marriage ultimately that is favorable for you in the long term. And if you want to know how you'll meet your future spouse, there's a video about that on my channel about your 7th house ruler placement. So I'll leave that link down below if you guys are curious. Now, with Venus in your 11th house, what we see manifesting for you in the partnerships you attract romantically is this friends to lovers dynamic. We know the 11th house is about friendships, network circles, so your person and your spouse could be your friend before your lover. And you yourself, as a Venus 11th house native, can value friendship a lot with your romantic dynamics, with your spouse. It's like, let's be friends first. Let's have a common goal that we share, common interests that we share, and your vision for humanity, your goals and wishes that you have personally are also shared with your spouse. It's likely that you and your spouse will have a common goal together, a common vision for humanity, common interest, things that you want to achieve in the long term. There is a commonality there. And something you could prioritize when you do choose a certain love interest to date or be with is, do they have the same goals as you? Do they have a similar goal as you? Can they help you achieve your long-term goals? It often manifests that you attract someone that helps you fulfill your wishes, fulfill your desires, fulfill your dreams. This is someone that makes your dreams come true. And what happens is that they can make your dreams come true because of the status that they already have established. You can have a spouse that is influential, someone who's well-connected, somebody who's prominent in society and even wealthy. And from that position of establishment, they help you achieve what you want through their status, connections, or their wealth. For you, your love and the relationships you're in have to go beyond just superficial connections, beyond something that is just physical or sexual, something that actually is purposeful, that transcends regular barriers, something that impacts humanity. And it's likely that with your connection with your future spouse, that you're able to impact humanity together, do humanitarian activities, have a purpose together, have a goal that is transcendental and impacts the world. And so through this union, you do something greater than just have a relationship, but you do something that actually helps, influences, and shapes the world around you. We talked about that friends to lovers trope, but you can also attract people that just have crushes on you. Your friends have crushes on you. It's easy for people to kind of fall in love with you or feel attracted to you. And so therefore you do have a lot of options there, which again might go through that screening process of like, okay, can they help me fulfill my goals, my wishes? Is this purposeful? Do we have a friendship first? So therefore you could kind of be, sometimes I feel like this could manifest as like a player placement, someone who might have a lot of crushes on them, but it's like unrequited crushes. So the numbers go up when we get to the 11th house. So you have more numbers with your romantic options. Maybe you have a lot of crushes on people, but there's a lot of options here that you can choose from, and especially choose from that relate to your long-term goals and wishes. And you can kind of expect this platonic bond to be present in your marriage, in your long-term partnership, where it's like your person has goals, you have goals, and you guys support each other in those goals. Your person could literally help you bring your goals into manifestation through financial support, material support, social support, etc. But either way, there is that kind of friendship bond that exists. Even if you do have a very romantic or passionate relationship, it's like, okay, we're friends, we're buddies, we help each other, we support each other. This is like a lifelong friend, but also your marriage partner too. And ultimately, you attract a partnership or marriage where you do gain from that marriage a lot. Metaphorically, literally, materially, financially, there is gains to be had with the person you attract into your life, and then bringing a lot of prosperity into your life. Now, to touch on the characteristics of your person, this is someone who's influential, especially in their social groups, in the social sphere they're a part of. Someone who's very well connected, who has many friends, and sometimes this could even manifest as your person being a celebrity, someone who is prominent in society, someone who's interactive in society, someone who has a position there that's established. So expect for your spouse to be in a celebrity-like position where they're well known, or they're just well connected, they have a lot of public recognition, or they could just maybe even literally be a celebrity. Either way, you might find that your spouse is someone who's popular, well-known, well-liked, and has connections. And if you're curious to know how you'll meet this person, your future spouse, there's a video about that on my channel, talking about your 7th house ruler placement. So I'll leave that link down below if you guys are curious. Venus in the 12th house is an intriguing placement. Here we can see that your romantic interests are people that are spiritual, or that you feel spiritually connected to. Now, there is this transcendental theme with your partnership, with the person you end up with, where you want the bond to transcend the mundane world, transcend the limits of social boundaries. Having this like transcendental, all-encompassing, idealistic love connection could be something that you want and something that you value in relationships. And it can often manifest that you and your person do kind of break some sort of social taboo, social boundary, and you literally have a transcendental relationship, whether it be because of an age difference, because of a cultural difference. Marrying someone from a different country or culture is common here. And through your connection together, you break some sort of boundary, unknowingly, unconsciously, sometimes even purposefully. We know that Venus is exalted in Pisces, and Venus is in this Piscean house, the 12th house. What we get here is like kind of like an exaltation in a sense, depending on your Venus sign. But Venus does well with this 12th house energy, since 12th house energy is about unconditional giving. So Venus in the 12th, you see that you want unconditional love, or you receive that with your future spouse. And you're someone who might give love unconditionally to people, honestly, in general, not just your spouse, but you could just be very giving, generous. Your person can be like that too. And when you get together, you want that to be the commonality, common interaction between you and your spouse, is giving to each other, loving each other unconditionally. You're someone who has a vivid imagination when it comes to love. You can be a very romantic person and even imagine your future spouse before you have them. I can see this as a placement as someone who manifests their future spouse, like scripts it out, or having that spiritual elements be incorporated with how you get together with your spouse somehow, some way is prevalent here. You're someone to desire a soulmate relationship, a soul connection, having a relationship that's deeper than superficial, having that soul tie, soul bond. And even without knowing it, you attract someone from like a past life. You attract someone who connects with you on a subconscious level, on this invisible, intangible level, being connected with your person, and kind of like in an unexplainable way. And that term soulmates really comes up with Venus in the 12th house. There's a lot of room for confusion with 12th house energies, so you could have kind of confusing love dynamics at first before you dial it down and get with like one person, where people can have gestures towards you or feelings and they're confused, or you feel confused about their standing with you. And having misunderstandings with your love connections and just like misperceptions is common here with this placement. Also, what could be common is a secretive relationship, a relationship that is not known by other people, having a relationship that is secret, because it's kind of taboo. You don't want people to know a certain thing or know that it is taboo. So you can expect secret love romances to be somewhat prevalent here with this dynamic. And with your person, you could feel like you're wanting to keep them a secret. You don't want to be public with your relationship for whatever reason. You're just very private about that, sensitive about that, and protective of your relationship and who knows about it. Sacrifice also comes up. So you can have a spouse that is sacrificial towards you. They sacrifice something to be with you. You sacrifice something to be with your spouse. Experiencing sacrifice is possible here with your spouse. Ultimately, with this placement, you kind of get that ideal picture of love. Like you want that ideal romance, that love connection that matches your imagination and what you idealize about love, what you fantasize about love. Having a connection that is like a fantasy, or being with your dream person, your dream relationship can be of importance to you, something you won't really settle until you kind of get that like transcendental, fantastical imagination, romantic love. So if you're curious to know how you will meet your future spouse based on your 7th house placement, I have that video on my channel. I'll link it down below if you guys are curious. And with that being said, thank you so much for watching this video, and I'll see you in my next one.